Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching, whatever time you're listening. Welcome to Your Onion podcast show. Today we have a very special guest. He's my old friend, business colleague, Vineet Nambiar.
Yep.
I've never actually pronounced your surname. Is it Nambiar correct?
It is Nambiar, Vineet Nambiar.
Okay, all right. I didn't emphasize too much. But welcome, Vineet.
Thank you.
Actually,
welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, I was going to say, Vinnie has been on the show before, but that was the first batch. That was the first time I tried Your Onion podcast.
Right.
But then I deleted it.
Right.
Not just his show, but I think I've deleted the first 10 podcasts that I recorded.
Thank
Nothing
you for
against
saying
you,
that.
my man. Because when I did tell you earlier, it was just like, what? You deleted me? No. So,
you
Vineet,
lost followers after the first one, didn't you?
Yeah, I try to work it out how I could get around it.
Right.
Vineet,
Yep.
like with all my guests, I just ask you to tell us what you're up to now, and then we go back in time, and then you can give us a brief history of how you ended up here.
Right.
So, is that maybe think about it as an elevator pitch? So if I'm in the elevator and I met you,
Right.
you need to kind of condense what you do, because I
Right.
know you're a man of many talents.
Thank you. Jack of all trades.
So
That's all I got.
go ahead, tell us.
So, Stefan, what's new is, we've launched this new venture called Mavericks 365. It's part of Maverick Global Innovations. It's based out of the U.S., funded out of the U.S., so it's based out of the U.S., out of Delaware, incorporated in Delaware. What exactly happened was this Mavericks is a global innovation network, but specifically also we're getting into the co-working space business. Co-working is something which is taking the world by storm. Most people have heard of WeWorks, and WeWorks is this juggernaut global. It's now the world's fifth probably most valuable startup. I think it's valued at $20 billion or something, and it's changing the way how people work or think about what an office space should be, right? And Mavericks, what inspired me to get something to Mavericks is something which is very passionate about to get people in an environment where they really feel inspired, where their creative juices come out, where what I understood is a Maverick in everyone. I thought that Maverick is someone who's just like 3% of the population. They think unorthodox. They go against the grain. They fight against their families to make this happen. So if you ask me, that's an elevator pitch. I just went beyond the elevator pitch to explain what we actually do.
But what's your involvement with Mavericks then? Because you just literally launched into Maverick. So what's your involvement?
So I'm the founder of Mavericks
Here in Qatar?
globally. So
globally,
exactly. So we got funding, and we were always. This was.
So how come it's got? So where you were talking about the US? Why?
It's actually incorporated in the United States because we're backed by investors, based in the United States, and we have many of our. The thing about Mavericks, it's a global innovation platform, and you want to be where Silicon Valley is, which is San Francisco.
Okay, so that's where you went.
That's where we went, and
all right. So you're the founder of this whole global
innovation network. Yep,
innovation network.
Right.
All right. Well, before we go into that deeply,
correct.
Let's just find out about who Vinnie really is.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you born?
Right.
What did you study?
Right.
And then how did you end up here in Qatar?
Right. So I was born in Qatar.
Okay.
And I did computer engineering after schooling. And
was that something that you were into, or was that something that your parents said? That's something that.
So yeah, that's what I keep saying, right? If you're born to Indian parents, right, you pretty much have three options,
Absolutely.
You have you could be an engineer, you could be a doctor, and if your parents were a bit more broad-minded, you could be a chartered accountant, right? So you have option three. So I had, and frankly, it wasn't as if I had this burning desire to be something, so I wanted to take this. So I basically fine, thank you for making that decision for me. Mm-hmm. And I said, what, I was passionate about technology. So I said, if I had to do engineering, it better be computer engineering, right? Yeah. So I might as well go for it that, So and I look back and I said, yeah, it was actually a good decision, because it gave me a great foundation. I feel I could learn anything, arts, anything outside school, but you actually need labs and you need that environment for years of intense number crunching and stuff like that, if you want to be an engineer. So I'm glad we actually did that, so when you think in hindsight. But yeah, back then, it just happened because they wanted me to be that, and that's what I ended up being, and that's my gift to them. And so that's
they were proud of their boy.
They were proud of that.
Yeah.
And
where did you study?
So I did my engineering in India.
Okay.
And my dad wasn't too happy the way I was growing up here. We were all spoiled back then.
I remember you saying that in the first interview.
Yeah, because so here, what happened is, life was too easy for us. We were like really spoiled. So he wanted me to
I know,
go
I see that
the
with my kids.
Yeah, so life was too easy, and we had literally no idea. We were living in a bubble, frankly.
Yeah.
We had literally no idea. We took things for granted, and only when you actually go down there, and he wanted to basically put me through all that misery and say what life is about, but literally no pocket money, and I got to fend for myself. But that 4 years made me. I wouldn't have done anything, if I hadn't had that experience in life,
So I could have been sitting with a different Vineet, maybe just into IT, and
I don't know what I'd be doing. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we're having a losers podcast, So Doha's best losers, and I'll be talking about how, what not, what you shouldn't be doing with life, and so it was actually nice. So that experience, you see people, come through very challenging situations to even own a computer. And how much they value that. And here is someone, I had everything on a plate, right? I had it right when you had computers in Doha. And you see how driven they were, growing up with those kids, to actually succeed in life.
I bet, yeah.
And now they're senior technology guys in the US, in Europe, in Middle East, elsewhere, all over Asia. And I saw that, and that hunger, that drive. And you have to be there, you have to live through that to actually experience what the whole thing is, Only then.
But you're experiencing, you're in a position where, your parents have put you in this position.
Correct.
But did you always not feel that, I've got my comfort back at home, so right. They have the hunger because they might be coming out of poverty, and they see that, this is my escape to, doing something better for myself.
Correct.
But for you, it was just like, well, I'll give it 4 years and then I'm back.
I hated it. I remember year one, I wanted to come back. Yeah. I remember telling I just want to.
And what was the answer on the phone?
Right, I still remember, I said there were college elections and stuff, so there was this really popular kid, and he had, no one wanted to stand up against him. So I was basically traveling. So they said, why not put Vineet to compete against us? They just nominated me. I ended up getting 2 votes, the guy who sits on my left and the guy who sits on right, because they know I'm going to lose badly. So at least, and for me, that was a wake-up call. It's like, wow, look at how, and it happened to all the kids who actually went from this part of the world there.
Wow.
They had very pure, we had very pure interpersonal skills.
Yeah.
And it's not that we were, Instagram and Facebook changed us. We never had any of those back then. No. But it's just that we didn't have those interpersonal skills because we never exactly dealt with people. We were very protected. We didn't have very little interaction with the outside world. Yeah. Spoiled for literally every basic needs. So even very basic things, it was a learning curve for us to get things because from that lap of luxury to actually get those things done, that was a whole learning curve. So anyone who grew up here would probably relate to that, and anyone who have kids here probably relate to that as well. So that 4 years, and it's almost like sending your kids to the army and putting them in a regimented lifestyle, And so after year one, that's when I started enjoying it. But year three, I was like, I don't want to go back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you really enjoyed, because you put your legs were put to that fire, and you want it, and then you find a way to survive, and then you said, you know what, now let me see how to fix this. You learn how to maneuver around things, and when someone asks you something, and you want to say no, you don't just bluntly say no. No. You find a way to, I might be able to do that, but let me see. So back then we were like, no, wait, should we do that? And everyone hated us because we were what we were. So we learn to figure things out. We learn the whole dynamics. You learn, and these are things. See, I was watching this video when they said, as things get more automated, what's more important than IQ is EQ, emotional quotient. And they don't teach you how to build EQ.
No.
And the best leaders in the world are now today are going to be people who actually have EQ, because most works are going to get automated. The creatives and the innovators are going to survive. But otherwise, you need a lot of emotional quotient to lead people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very
it's
true.
much easier to manage technology, but so much more difficult to manage people. And that's what I've learned in life. And those life skills comes only in those kind of environments. So yes, I went to learn engineering, but I never knew these are the life skills that would actually matter more in life.
No, you don't though. When you're at that age,
No, you don't.
You look up to your parents, and education is instilled in you, and then a job.
Correct.
But it's that whole life skills that you have to learn as you go along.
Right.
And as you get older, you hopefully will become wiser. And
Correct.
and what a learning curve for you as well. That you were there to study IT engineering, but
Right.
also you realized that you had come from this bubble.
Correct.
And saw how other people interacted and were passionate about what they
Right.
wanted to do. It was
Correct.
what a life skill.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
A learning curve.
A complete learning curve. And now it looks, I'm glad when you joined the dots. But back then, it was anything like this.
Yeah.
But when you look back, those 4 or 5 years, I could. Nowadays, I tell kids the same thing. Someone tells me, hey, I want to do this MBA. I said, okay. But you want to do an MBA. What I would suggest is, how much money do you have saved for that MBA? Say $50,000 US. Okay. Take that money and probably invest in a startup. Build a team and you have this passionate project about, do that. Do those 2 years and you will learn all what you need to learn. And then think about if you actually need to do an MBA. I think you should only do an MBA to build those networks and relationships.
Yeah, that's all right. But you mentoring these youngsters, but then they have to go to their parents and go, Mum, Dad, this is what I'm going to do.
No,
It's
usually you're a graduate before you think about MBA. So you're early, probably 20,
True.
21,
Yeah.
So don't do it just because, everyone else is doing it. And I just want this, corner office and be a suit and, little dress. But that experience, that 2 years, 18 months, let it fail, let it crash and burn. But that 2 years of experience leading people, understanding various aspects of life, that's something that's priceless. So do it for the experience, and you will learn everything you need to learn, from finance, from losing money, from cash flow, from leading people, from HR, organizations, selling, marketing. Yeah, so
absolutely.
Absolutely. We've all been through that. So,
Absolutely.
and that makes you much more wiser. Now, I'm rolling on something new. But now I'm much more smarter rolling out something new. I figured out, how that finance is like the blood of any.
Yeah.
What's going to keep you going? How this is going to be funded. And how do you build this next new venture? Which you want to do. So, yeah.
So, tell us, after graduating, very quickly, we've only got half an hour, more or less than that now. But what were the stages after, qualifying?
Yeah.
What have you learned? And what experience did you have to get where you are now?
So I would always suggest people never to work for a corporation right out of college. Work for small startups, work for teams with a passion. That's where you learn. All my friends who actually went.
But you say that, but especially when you're talking about here, that's the biggest. Bag of gold is the working for big corporations.
And that's the wrong
idea. You get the title, you get the salary, you get all the perks. And then on the other hand, you're offering a startup and, long hours,
You could always come back to that job 10 years from now. When you're 21, you don't need to be looking for those things. Right, you could have the title in a startup. That's not a challenge. But what you need to do is when you say 35, 40, that's when you can take risk in life. So I tell people between 21 and 31, that's your golden years.
That's a good advice. Yeah.
Make all those. That's when you experiment and
But
stuff.
did you do that?
That's what I did.
That's what you did.
That's what we came out with the first startup, which was focused on travel. I met this, it wasn't my idea. I was just, I was part of the founding team, but there's a couple of guys who, straight out of college, they were building a solution for a travel agency. So I happened to go, guys, Doha has a lot of travel agencies. You know what? It's an expat market. Maybe you should want to come and, let's try our, so they had no idea what Doha was, but, I knew. So for me, that was a startup in Doha. I'm talking 2005. As luck would turn out, today 70% of Doha market today actually run on that platform, which we introduced, called Trax.
Yeah.
So any travel agent today, he probably, if he's listening, he knows that he's probably running on Trax as his back office system. And Trax has gone into bigger things. They're there for the annual World Travel Show in London every year. They are one of the biggest booths for technologies. But I saw how we came, But soon we had one major investor invest in, we all got out of it. I got out of it at least. So that was a big exit. This happened by luck. It was not by design.
Yeah.
I would like to, the story would be much more glamorous if I said this is what I planned and we made it. But this is what happened. And that was my first success story. And obviously, we got arrogant after that, and then the next one didn't do as well as we wanted to. But yeah, so that's a learning curve too.
Absolutely.
But for me, it happened the other way. Usually, people fail first, but I had success first, and then I actually had those failures, and then we learned. So I was always passionate about doing something. I was lucky. I was able to convince even my parents, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to try, And hey, 10 years from now, I'll have all the experience to go back to a big MNC or a big, cushy government job, which can actually, the world has changed.
No,
I don't think anything.
I don't see you doing that.
Yeah, I don't see now. I know, the way I'm wired, that's never going to happen.
No,
I'm going to be miserable if I'm doing that. Something is terribly wrong, and those guys have hired the wrong guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an HR somewhere. There's a huge human resources recruitment failure, which actually made that actually happen. So I actually tell people, go ahead, work for the ginger camels of the world, get those creative juices out, because you're working as a team. You're working with a vision. You're working. You're on a set mission to do something different, and that should inspire you. Sure, you need the money. Sure. I mean, make no mistakes. The world, you need a lot of money, but you need a lot of money for what? 10 years, 15 years back, I wanted a car, I wanted a house. I have all that now. Am I happy? I was happy when I had nothing those 4 years.
Yeah.
I look back, though I keep referring to those 4 golden years.
Yeah.
And so what does that tell me? So it tells life is, of course, you need those material things, but these are the things which actually keeps you going and makes you alive. Otherwise, people like me, I can't even sum up the energy to even get out of the bed if I don't have that larger.
No, absolutely.
You need to be chasing that larger vision, and you need to find a way to make it financially viable. So these are things which age experience teaches you.
Yeah. No, I remember years back when we were part of BNI, and I would sit down with Vinnie, and he tried to explain what he was involved with, but I just every time I would be lost because he had so many ideas and fingers in various pies.
You're right, and that's wrong. That's the wrong thing, right? If you don't have clarity, you're doing something seriously wrong. So that's a learning curve too.
So that was a learning curve as well.
That was a learning curve. So it has to be simple. I mean, if you say WeWorks, co-working, it has to be simple. Okay, they sell memberships in the real estate space. Understood. Simple. Yeah. There's no, but if I go about, I'm going to launch this rocket and, then it's going to, take off. I'm going Tesla and SpaceX together.
Yeah.
That's what people don't get it. So if I just told you, we're just selling ads, that business would have made sense.
Absolutely.
But I tied myself in. That was like good 6-7 years.
Screens
and so and the moment we see clarity, we started doing well on that segment. And we knew exactly what works in Doha, what doesn't work, and it's what, don't fight things when you don't have. That's that. So here we are, and
so how did it? Where did this light bulb moment come on with the whole Mavericks 365?
So
where did the name come from?
I'll tell you. So I was in the US, and I wanted a workspace to work in. So I just had this.
Why were you in the US?
So we were meeting. We were there for I can't call it a trade show, an expo kind of thing.
Okay.
And I wanted a day off just to work on my on my laptop. I had an option either to go to a coffee shop, which is what usually we do. Yeah. But instead I saw this place banner that said co-working space. This was like 2016, I guess. Yeah. And I said I just went in and I read about co-working spaces. Never exactly used one because we don't have many in the Middle East.
They seem to be popping up more now. Especially the
Doha has its first actual co-working space now. We'll talk about that later. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's you probably know Workington, but that's the only real co-working space that we have in Doha. So I actually popped into this, in this actually an LA co-working space, and I just loved the environment. I mean, you had private offices, you had this large co-working area, you had everything, and the whole energy and the conversations you meet with random people. Yeah. Serendipity is my favorite word. And the kind of things which that struck me, I learned so much in that 8 hours, which I couldn't figure out in the last 4 days.
Wow.
I met local people, I met entrepreneurs, I met everyone, sitting together, crazy, doing great stuff, discussing new ideas. And I said, this is how an office should be. It shouldn't be a punch in and punch out kind of a mechanical system. And the beauty is, what I saw is in a co-working space, you don't buy a space, you buy memberships. And that memberships gives you access to number of benefits. So even today, there are a lot of shared spaces which call themselves co-working, so I wouldn't name them. But the thing is, they don't give you members, what does that membership give you? Does it give you access to networks? Does this give you access to community? Does that give you access to, obviously you need real estate, that's a given, but what other services do you have access to? So with Mavericks, I thought, many of these co-working spaces they aren't doing it right. We first want to build a network and give you the first membership, which is access to the Global Innovation Network. When I say innovation network, again, it's a big jargon, but what it means is corporates who want to innovate, they want to meet new ideas, they want to get startups and all. Investors, mentors. Then there are other ecosystem members who purely survive for the ecosystem, like accelerators, incubators, and stuff like that. Creatives, media guys like Ginger Camel, fashion designers, all those guys who create and that's the closest you can get to God, I say sometimes, because this ecosystem is what I saw that made LA or San Francisco, pretty much any major thing, any major innovation in the world, we think about, forget Teslas and Facebooks and Googles or Ubers, they all happen in that coastal, in that coast. Yeah. Just struck me why, and I can see, and a lot of that, and co-working was a big part of that. And I said, this is something I relate to. I love it. And it's a great business. I mean, so going back to what I said.
Membership. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I said. The old Vineet would have just looked at this is like, but we wouldn't have talked about the finance. But now this makes financial sense, this makes economic sense as well. This is a great experience which you can actually give to members.
Okay.
So that's what I said, first, any city we go, we launch Mavericks, the community, the network. Then we think about space. It's first network, space second.
Okay.
And so that's what we want to roll out. We have an ambitious target rolling out. We want to run 100 cities, our network. We've taken a franchise model to that because that's the fastest way we can achieve that. And we want local innovation champions in every city. Nice. Right now we have succeeded 5. Yeah. We have five cities globally. And
tell us the cities.
Doha, Singapore, Bangalore, Pune, and of course San Francisco, of course. So these are the 5 cities we are actually rolling out. We're in talks with another 10 cities. Pune as well. Sorry, that's in another Indian city, which is going to roll out soon, hopefully July, August. We had the Singaporean guys here last week for the launchpad, the Mavericks launchpad in Doha.
Yeah.
So what I say is, for example, there's a Singapore entrepreneur who wants to scale in the Middle East. So he used Launchpad to launch himself. He found a partner. We had a famous international fitness startup, which was into loyalty programs. I mean, like you go 250 times to the gym, they say you get a free membership. You go 50 times, you get an iPhone. And they call calorie as a currency or fitness as a currency.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah.
They found out partners here. They found out investors here, and they're going to launch a Grow Fitter Middle East. So you see these amazing things happening. A lot of the focus in Doha is actually build startups here.
Yeah.
A lot of focus is get international startups here. You can't create new entrepreneurs. The system, it's a small population. There's so much you could do.
Yeah.
Get many of these international startups based out of here. Great. Qatar Airways takes you to every nook and corner of the world. It has great infrastructure, great quality of life. We use those facilities, and they can come here and use this as a base. That's what we see Doha's role in the global innovation.
Yeah,
thing.
but how do you partner? Do you act as a fixer as well, where you introduce local partners as well?
Yeah.
You do?
Local partners and all that.
Okay.
And that's what's leading us to what we have from 28th of April to the 1st of May. We have Mavericks is partnered with a big business group, Address Business Management, to launch what is called the International Business Delegation Summit. It's a 4-day summit, where it's an investor summit. It's a partner summit and it's an influencer summit. We say it's 3 things rolled into one. You have 4 days. You have meetings with Chamber of Commerce. You have a meeting with business councils. You're meeting with. You have a private Mavericks Global Innovation Summit. That's for the innovators and the startups. We are partnering with hopefully a big accelerator. I don't want to name them before we actually finalize that, but probably the biggest in the world. That's happening here. That's going to that news is coming out soon, and to actually have that.
Well, you can tell us because this won't go out until whenever you want us to put it out.
So we had the last Launchpad Startup Bootcamp coming down. So Startup Bootcamp could be, we're working there. They have they have this great bunch of startups out there. So we're pulling our pool of investors and their pool of investors to see. There are a lot of Maverick community members who want to get investments and stuff like that. So
where is this? All these ideas coming from? Is this coming from your head, or have you got a team that you're working with?
We have a team. We have a dedicated team in Doha. We have a dedicated team in Bangalore where we have a development center, because Mavericks is a platform, a technology platform too, because that is driving the whole experience. So we thought it's all about building those connections and getting those value for those memberships.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, when a space is there, which space would you want to be with? You want to be with the Maverick space? Do you want to do it in another space which doesn't give you access to that? I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? But obviously, it's not as easy as said. There are a lot of other things that goes into it. Location, real estate, the overall experience and ambience. But that's the first thing we want to deliver. Right now, we're just talking about delivering that experience, and and
it's going to plan. It's how you
right.
see.
That's great. Yeah,
so
we have had 3 launchpads in Doha.
Yeah.
The turnout has been amazing, and the initial ones are more low-key and community-driven, but then the next ones are going to be the big ones where we're going to get a lot of people. So the IBD is one summit which happens biannually, which is purely focused on investors, partners. We have 100 delegates coming from around 20 cities this time, and we just did a road show. We did a road show with 10 cities.
How was
Singapore,
that?
Kuala Lumpur. I don't know. It was amazing. It was a great experience, but it was exhausting, brutal. I mean, I realized I need to really work out and be fit now if I want to do. If I have any plans to execute what I've laid out for, because you need to be fit physically too, right?
Absolutely.
And in Doha, we Doha babies. We love eating, right? We live to.
It's the culture, isn't it? It's the way of life here.
Yeah, and people don't get it, but we really love our food.
Yeah.
We just enjoy ourselves, dining, and you can see that all kinds of dining options. I'll tell you, this is the best place when it comes to eating. I've been around the world, and the kind of cuisines which you have is amazing. I'm sure some things you won't get it as authentic as back in that particular country or region, but it's amazing. I love the food here. It's you got to get fit, because that's why we went to Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Manila. We did Bangalore, Calcutta. We wanted to do the Middle East. The next leg is Middle East, and God knows if I have the energy to do that. Because we wanted to get the first summit out before Ramadan. That's why we're really rushing, because Ramadan's on the 6th of May, so we want to have that before it starts, because a lot of global interest in Qatar with the World Cup coming in. There are a lot of, and I see there's a dramatic shift in the economy. From a building and construction, it's become a media events game. I see events business doing fabulous. I see a lot of major concerts happening, a lot of major conventions happening. Your Project Qatar coming out in the same period of time. So a lot of people are even excited to be part of Project Qatar, which is the biggest expo here in Doha. So from our point, keep adding value to memberships. Keep giving those experience. There are some startups who want to present in Singapore when the Singapore Launchpad happens later. So they want to go to East Asia. People in East Asia want to come here.
And is the format the same wherever you go? So if I went to a Maverick location here in Qatar,
Right.
it would be the same in Singapore. Would
It's-
they be talking all the same kind of language?
It's pretty much the same, but there are some tweaks based on the region.
Okay.
For example, in our Singapore and Pune version, between breaks, you have indie bands coming and performing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're promoting them, local brands. It's great because, see, we're mixing creatives and innovators. We don't want to make it purely tech startup focused, you know?
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
corporate innovation. For example, we had Elite Paper Recycling. They're the biggest champions of, they're pretty much 90% monopoly in Qatar.
Yeah.
You see their boxes around next to any shop. They made a business out of waste, practically. So we had the founder, a young guy, very inspiring, coming in, and he spoke about how he took trash and made it into cash.
Yeah.
And they you know, there are these recycled boxes and amazing
Yeah, he's
story.
coming on our show next week, actually.
He is, right? Yeah, it's an amazing story. He can
Yeah.
tell you and launch. And everyone was very keen to know what he was actually doing. And they wanted to support that initiative because the good thing about this new generation, as much as we'd like to, you know, beat them is, you know, they actually care for the world. They're about green,
No,
sustainability.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and that was highlighted very clear.
Right.
That they are much more looking after the environment and the world.
They are, and as much
Well,
as
we're
we
not
call them
leaving them very
entitled,
much,
yeah,
but,
yeah, except we call them entitled and all those kind of.
Yeah, no.
But they care for the world. They they really want to work for something they believe in.
Absolutely.
And these are things which my dad never had the luxury to even think about. You
No.
know, they say you take any job you get. Right. So in one way, we're a fortunate generation which can
Absolutely.
actually be picky and say this is what I want to do and follow our dreams. So. Yeah, so these kind of stories come out on Launchpad, and they may use technology, they may not use technology, but you know they come and tell how their vision of changing the world is. You know, so we had this fabulous guy on the other day on Launchpad. He's changing the world, changing the game here in Doha in terms of ads. You know, all these Pearl buildings you got see out there. When you see on those elevators, those ads being projected. And he made a very interesting proposition. He said, you know, when we stand in an elevator, it's always weird looking at people. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Now you don't have to. You just look at the ad that's there. And they're signing building after building.
Yeah.
And you probably already saw some of that. So he talked about how he's actually he's changing the ad business here in Doha. So a lot of exciting people coming on, sharing their idea. We have a demo zone where all our members showcase their innovations in which they're bringing in.
Yeah.
Corporates who are trying to innovate. A lot of this is about corporates first because they're trying to innovate. They can't because the way they're structured to a big extent.
Yeah.
They partner with startups to bring up a new idea. So
very
you
good.
see, for example, you have healthy food. A good friend of mine, she has Aleph Cafe. They have healthy food,
Yes.
sustainable subscription
Yeah.
boxes, the same mashed potatoes, which I enjoy, but much lower in calories. So
Oh, well, that's good.
That's good, right?
Okay,
So these kind of stories want to come out, and even in a place like Doha, which is small, we think the news spreads. People don't know what's exactly happening. You know?
No.
There are a lot of things actually happening, and so it's an exciting once a month format. You know, where we have other formats which are more casual and not formal, where you know people sit and talk. But this is a more TED Talk style. Ideas, but purely focused on innovation, about how, as a company or as an individual, social media influencers. We had a guy, 709 Studios, Yasser, you know, who's actually involved in certain Netflix productions.
Oh, wow.
I never knew there were Netflix
Yeah,
productions
yeah.
happening in Doha. Did you?
No,
I didn't know
I
that.
didn't know, yeah.
So he's working with Katara Studios, doing amazing stuff, and I was like, wow, I never knew this was actually happening.
Yeah.
And I consider myself fairly more networked than the average guy.
Absolutely.
I was born here. We are
Yeah.
part of things like, you know, BNI and other networks. And it's like, and we think we knew it all. And that's when, you know, these amazing guys come and you're like, wow, spellbound. I was just listening about the kind of stuff they're doing. And wow. And Yasser Alemi, fabulous entrepreneur. He's there all at every demo zone.
Yeah.
We are there, and he should be there again for the summit as well, sharing, you know, how he's actually making those changes. So, yeah.
So we're running out of time now.
Sure.
But I'm just curious, what is it looking forward into the future?
Correct.
Where do you see yourself? Do you see because isn't this, with all this, it's like you being in a sweetie shop with all this opportunity. Are you going to stay focused with Mavericks 365?
Yep.
Or are you going to be dipping in and out?
No, I'm
seeing
only going to be, if
opportunities?
I'm going to do something, I'm just going to be an investor elsewhere. But operationally, mentally, 100%
This is it.
Mavericks. This is
Okay.
it, yeah. At least for the next 5 years, because the Vinnies of 2019.
Oh yeah, we were talking.
We are a Maverick. Now you asked me why Maverick, right? Maverick is Maverick. So
Yeah.
Mavericks 365 is your Maverick throughout the year. So, but Maverick doesn't mean you don't have focus, you don't have discipline. So that's something which I tell people. But your Maverick is someone who has an idea which can scale, and he's focused and disciplined enough to execute that. So, I've had a lot of successes and failures. So I want to build on that, to actually make it happen. So
Very good.
Yes.
So how can people find out more information about Maverick 365?
Well, follow our pages, mavericks365.com.
Yeah.
So we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Follow our pages. And hit me up. I'd love to have a chat. If you see, the biggest thing about Maverick, Stefan, what I found is a lot of these 9-to-5 guys who work in. It's not that they don't have an idea. They want to come out and do something new.
Yeah, no,
How many friends you had probably on a weekend say, I had this idea, Stefan.
Yeah.
But they don't do anything because they're stuck, because life catches up. You have loans to pay. If you can't leave your job. Now what we do is we have many of these guys coming, engaging with local entrepreneurs, supporting them. They said, we have the cash, we'll get few interns, or we'll get few of the members here, and let's back this project.
Yeah.
And they want to do it. That's how the fitness startup is coming to Doha.
Yeah.
The guy who's actually working, he wants to partner and make this actually happen, So the biggest thing we have unlocked, not just in Doha, around the world, what we're seeing is getting those people this is the unlocking of energy, what we are trying to do. Getting those guys to participate in the new innovation economy, And hopefully they will use our spaces to work out as well. Right.
Very good.
Great.
Well, thank you, Vinnie. Thanks
you,
for coming on the
Stefan.
show.
Always, yeah.
And please, feel free to pop in anytime and give us an update.
Absolutely. Love your new office, amazing new office.
Thanks very much.
It's the first time I'm actually coming in.
No, I know you had the experience of the old office, which was tiny, but
Right. I always enjoy your conversations with you.
same here. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
See you. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch up with you next week. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.